Hi, Frank.
Hey there, Ford.
Hi, Frank.
Very quiet here tonight.
I want to watch that CNN special on fentanyl tonight.
Well, you have cable, don't you? Let's see. How to add a clock split.
Oh, yes. I have a friend who was a doctor and now a recovering addict who will be a guest on the program.
Yeah, you were saying that. I'm trying to figure out how to add a clock back to Peanut's channel, but still show her full screen of her whatever fireplace or whatever she's watching, but not having the best luck in the world.
Really super nice guy.
Cool. Oh.
https://restroom.blogs.cnn.com/2023/03/03/CNN Town Hall America Addicted the Fentanyl Crisis/ Looks interesting. His name is Lou Hortensio. One can watch CNN live here. https://www.livenewsmag.com/CNN/.
Oh, maybe there's a way to do it. History. Stop. I hear Peanut zipping around everywhere. Maybe. Well, that clock ain't working. History. Hello. Night live.
George Michael documentary here. https://www.channel4.com/program/George Michael outed.
I didn't know George Michael ever needed to be outed. We pretty much knew all about him back in the 80s when Wham was big.
I think you are right. LOL.
Yeah, I didn't know he needed to be outed. He pretty much everybody knew. I mean, This could actually work. But I'd have to crop it. Or maybe I wouldn't. Well, maybe. Let's see. Crop, crop, crop.
Kind of like Freddie Mercury.
Yep. Nobody needed to guess on that one much. Left.
People had their suspicions while he was with Wham, but nothing official until he was forced to deal with in the media.
Problem with this clock is
I didn't see him as gay during Wham. But then again, I was a teen.
well, I was a teen too. Well, teen, early 20s, but yeah, he pretty much, it's like nobody questioned whether Boy George was gay either. We pretty much knew that too.
I should have said kind of like Freddie Mercury and Boy George.
Yeah. And Elton John too. I think I can do that. Let's see. All right, I figured out how to add a clock to Peanuts page, so I'm gonna go work on that now.
Freddie and Boy George were obvious by their dress. George not early on.
Like I said, I never thought of him as any other way, but only one that caught me a little by surprise was Rob Halford of Motorhead.
Judas Priest.
Yeah, Judas Priest, sorry. Hey, Widowpay. Your diaper's starting to come off. That means they'll have to put you up soon. I know. I'm sorry.
That surprised me too.
Well, I figured out how to put a clock in Peanuts channel, so I'll go do that here in a second.
article came out as gay in 1998 just for what it's worth.
Ah.
It was an attack on the Capitol. As for whether Speaker McCarthy made a mistake in giving Carlson the video, Republicans by and large avoided saying so directly today. Utah Senator Mitt Romney, though, who called Carlson's portrayal of January 6th quote, dangerous and disgusting, did say Speaker McCarthy made a mistake. Carlson, by the way, said this about vetting the video. We do take security seriously. So before airing any of this video, we checked first with the Capitol Police. Multiple sources on the Hill say otherwise. The Carlson show provided only a single clip to review, not all of them. And in a letter to the department, the chief of Capitol Police writes, quote, the opinion program never reached out to the department to provide accurate context. Contrast that in our reporting with Speaker McCarthy's assurance just a week ago. We work with the Capitol Police as well, so we'll make sure security is taken care of. We are consulting with the Capitol Police. Now, if that happened, the Capitol Police chief isn't saying so. He's apparently livid at the handling of this. As for Speaker Kevin McCarthy, he spoke tonight to reporters, including CNN's Mano Raju. He said he has no regrets about his decision to give Carlson the footage, arguing he did it in the name of transparency, which is similar to his justification last week, when he said, I think sunshine lets everybody make their own judgment. That's what he said then. But this was really never about sunshine. It was about appealing to the former president and his most extreme supporters in Congress, the ones who helped him become Speaker. And if that meant sowing doubts about the bravery of Capitol Police and D.C. police that day and downplaying an attempt to overthrow a democratic and fair election, so be it. Kevin McCarthy was scared on January 6th, and with good reason. The sad thing is how scared he still appears to be today. Not just of the former president and the supporters who roamed the Capitol halls that day, but of some of the members in his own party, the ones he serves with and is so beholden to today. Joining us now, CNN law enforcement analyst Michael Fanone, who was tasered several times in the neck, beaten and suffered a heart attack as a result of this effort defending the Capitol as a member of the D.C. Metro Police Department. I appreciate you being with us. Last night, Carlson called people who breached the Capitol, quote, sightseers instead of insurrectionists. You were there, but what do you make of what Carlson was done?
Yeah, I mean, I heard the language that Tucker Carlson used to describe the individuals that were there. It's certainly not what I would have used to describe Albuquerque head, an individual who pled guilty to placing me in a chokehold, ripping me off of a police line, pulling me out into a crowd of violent insurrectionists while he yelled, "I've got one." It's not.
His name was Albuquerque.
Albuquerque head. It's not the language I would use to describe Kyle Young, who violently assaulted me, lunged for my firearm, who was also pled guilty to the assault. It's not the language that I would use to describe Thomas Siddick, who recently pled guilty to stripping my badge and my radio from my chest, and then burying my badge in his backyard back in Buffalo, New York. And it's certainly not the language I would use to describe Daniel Rodriguez, who admittedly struck me in the neck numerous times with a taser device, all while I was out in the crowd, defenseless and being assaulted from every direction. So, what Tucker Carlson forgot to talk about, like you said earlier, is the 140 officers like myself that were severely injured as a result of this violent insurrection attack on our Capitol.
We're sitting there drinking and looking around.
The idea of Tucker
I
Carlson
noticed there were no women,
being in that
just all
mob
men.
that day
I
and
then
not
saw
wetting
some
his
holding
pants
hands
is
and
hard to
realized
imagine.
I was in a gay bar.
I find
We
it hard
finished our
to
beers and
understand
left.
somebody who
Nice
is
bar
not put himself
anyways.
in harm's way and
I just remember feeling
capacity for
paranoid
anyone
and
else,
worrying that I would get hit on but never did.
reporting a story,
Silly of me to
and
think
yet
like that.
has the audacity to
I never forgot that stories so thought I'd
try
share.
to rewrite history. I mean, that's what this is. It is an attempt to rewrite history on what is one of the most consequential, certainly one of the biggest events in American democracy and the biggest threats to
Hell,
democracy.
I'd go back in if ever
Tucker
in the area.
Carlson is, by his own admission, an entertainer, not a journalist. And on top of that, he's just proven himself to be Donald Trump's chief propagandist. And that's all this was, and I think that most Americans recognize that way before this segment aired that this was propaganda, and it was an attempt by Tucker Carlson to downplay and whitewash the events of January 6th.
Speaker McCarthy, you in your book, you write about a meeting that you had with him as well as with the family of Officer Sicknick. Talk a little bit about what you saw in that meeting. And so, based on what you saw in that meeting, I assume you're not surprised that the speaker gave Carlson exclusive access to this material.
Absolutely. I mean, the one takeaway that I had from my meeting with Kevin McCarthy was that he said clearly that he could not control the fringe members of his party, which is strange because he's now seemingly aligned himself with the fringe members of his party. He knew ahead of time exactly what Tucker Carlson was going to do with this footage, and yet he gave him the exclusive access to the footage, 40,000 hours of which there was no chain of command to discern, what type of security protocols may have been revealed to whom at what time, which in and of itself is outrageous. And that being said, this was all an attempt to appeal to or appease Donald Trump, who Kevin McCarthy has become a useful idiot for.
Mike Finone, appreciate you being with us tonight.
Thank you.
I want to turn now to breaking news. Another batch of documents in Dominion Voting System lawsuit against Fox News. More communication from inside the company. Senior media reporter Oliver Dorsey joins us now with that. So what's new in this filing?
There are a lot of messages in this filing. This filing basically contains all the exhibits that Dominion has been using to make their case against Fox News in the previous filings that we've seen. And so we're basically just getting raw text messages, raw emails, deposition transcripts that again continue to show that behind the scenes, Fox News knew exactly what they were doing. They knew these election lies that they were pushing were nonsense, but they allowed these election lies to gain a foothold on their air. I want to read to you an email that Rupert Murdoch sent Fox News CEO Suzanne Scott on January 21st, 2021. He concedes in here, he says, he's talking about election lies, and he says, maybe Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham went too far. And he goes on to say, very well for Sean Hannity to tell you he was in despair about Trump, but what did he tell his viewers? And in another exchange in his deposition, Rupert Murdoch was asked repeatedly about election lies that were about Dominion, and he rejected them over and over and over and over again. I'll read part of it. They said, do you believe that Dominion was engaged in a massive and coordinated effort to steal the 2020 presidential election? No, Murdoch replied. Have you ever seen any credible evidence to suggest that Dominion was engaged in a massive and coordinated effort to steal the 2020 election? No, Murdoch replied. Have you believed that Dominion was engaged in a massive and coordinated effort to steal the 2020 election? No. You've never believed that Dominion was involved in an effort to delegitimize and destroy votes for Donald Trump, correct? He says, I'm open to persuasion, but no, I've never seen it.
Dominion seeking a summary judgment. What would that mean, and what's Fox's response been?
Yeah, Dominion wants the judge basically to rule on this. Fox's response has been obviously against this motion, and so we're going to see what happens later this month when the judge does rule on this. I think most legal experts would say that this is likely headed toward a trial. So we'll see what happens. But Fox is responding tonight. They're basically saying this proves that all of this is proof that Dominion has been engaged in smearing it. They say that these raw transcripts do say that or prove their claim that they have been cherry picking information out of them and making it in their filing. So,
Oliver, I want to bring in veteran First Amendment lawyer Lee Levine, who's in his long career represented both Fox and CNN and many other media outlets in America. So, Lee, in a previous appearance on CNN, you said a similar filing was helpful, but quote, not a smoking gun. What would a smoking gun look like when the standard is actual malice?
Well, when I said that last time, Anderson, I was talking about the testimony that Murdoch gave when he said that various of the hosts on Fox had endorsed election fraud. And I said that was not a smoking gun because it did not relate directly to Dominion. It just talked generally about election fraud. But what Oliver just read, I think, is a little bit closer to a smoking gun. Here we've got Murdoch saying that he, who had at least theoretical authority to stop Powell and Giuliani from appearing on Fox's shows, in fact, never believed and has never seen any evidence of election fraud by Dominion. And that's pretty close to a smoking gun.
So I just want to put those what Rupert Murdoch said on the screen, just read them out again, because it's, as you said, this is important. A Dominion lawyer said, "Do you believe that Dominion was engaged in a massive and coordinated effort to steal the 2020 presidential election?" Rupert Murdoch said no. Next question was, "Have you ever seen any credible evidence to suggest that Dominion was engaged in a massive and coordinated effort to steal the 2020 presidential election?" No. And then the third question was, "Have you ever believed that Dominion was engaged in a massive and coordinated effort to steal the 2020 presidential election?" Again, no. And the fourth question, "You've never believed that Dominion was involved in an effort to delegitimize and destroy votes for Donald Trump, correct?" I'm open to persuasion, but no, I've never seen it. So, Lee, why is that? Why does that matter?
Because the standard that Dominion has taken it upon itself to meet is that those persons at Fox responsible for broadcasting the information about Dominion that has, in many instances, been acknowledged now by Fox to be false, at the time either knew it was false or believed it was probably false. Mm-hmm. And at the top of the food chain, of course, is Rupert Murdoch. And Dominion has made an effort to show that Rupert Murdoch was hands-on. That is, that he was aware of what people were saying on his air, that he had the ability to stop these guests from appearing and repeating these things that he apparently testified he's never believed to be true. And if Dominion can convince a jury that Murdoch, in fact, was responsible for those broadcasts, that testimony would satisfy the standard of actual malice, knowledge of falsity, or reckless disregard of the truth.
And Albert, I mean, is there any doubt that Murdoch had the power at Fox News to call into the control room and say, get Giuliani off?
There's no doubt. And he's even testified that he did have that power, he just didn't exercise it. But at the end of the day, over at Fox News, make no mistake, whoever CEO, doesn't matter. Rupert Murdoch is the one that calls the shots.
And also, the on-air personalities at Fox seem very, like Tucker Carlson was talking to other anchors about the stock price of, I guess it's of Fox. I don't know what the stock price of the parent company of CNN is. I don't know what, like, it's fascinating to me that was in their mind. That was like a talking point amongst them. Like, oh, we can't do this. The stock price is being hurt.
And this was because the stock price was falling because viewers were rebelling against Fox News. They were turning off Fox News. They were going
because Fox had told the truth about the exactly. Results in Arizona.
And the viewers clearly did not want to hear the truth. They wanted to believe this fantasy that had been sold to them by Donald Trump and by people on Fox News at times. And so they were turning off the channel. They wanted to go to Newsmax. Trump was attacking the network. It was the height of the wake of the 2020 election. And, you know, you see in these emails where they talk, like you said, about the stock price, about viewers rebelling, about this is a very serious situation. Everything that Fox has been built on can be destroyed very quickly. Trump is a destroyer, Tucker Carlson said, but he's not going to destroy us. I mean, these emails really shed a lot of light on what was happening.
Lee, based on what you've seen, I mean, is there any part of Dominion's suit where you think they've overreached?
No. I think they, if anything, in the complaint, which makes sense because they didn't have access to all of these materials then, they undersold what they will ultimately be able to prove now that they've had discovery and have gotten access to all these text messages and emails, and they've had the ability to take depositions of them.
I mean, that's kind of amazing, isn't it? I mean, don't a lot of attorneys usually oversell something initially?
Well, they work off of what they know and what they have, but yes, sometimes. But these are, I've said this before, there are very good lawyers on both sides of this case, and neither side is going to oversell anything. They're very good, and they know what they're doing.
Lee Levine and Holger Dorsey, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Next, an update on the 4 Americans taken at gunpoint in Mexico. The news, very bittersweet. Later, with COVID and the origins of it, back on page 1, a conversation with the recently retired Dr. Anthony Fauci.
The future is here. We've been creating it for more than 100 years, putting the most advanced technology into people's hands. Generation after generation, tool after tool, again and again, bringing you the broadest and most reliable network of service dealers. always moving forward. We lead, others follow.
Here's how Tommy lost 30 pounds on Noom Weight.
I'm Tom.
Noom helped him use psychology to lose weight.
The mindful aspect made me feel more conscious about what I was eating, why I was eating it. It's actually working.
Lose weight and make it last with Noom Weight.
My relationship with my credit cards wasn't good. I got into debt in college, and no matter how much I paid, it followed me everywhere. Between the high interest, the fees, I felt trapped. So I broke up with my credit card debt and consolidated it into a low-rate personal loan from SoFi. I finally feel like a grown-up.
Break up with bad credit card debt. Get a personal loan with no fees, low fixed rates, and borrow up to $100K. Go to SoFi.com to view your rate. SoFi, get your money right.
With the majority of my patients with sensitivity, I see irritated gums and weak enamel. Sensodyne sensitivity gum and enamel. Relief sensitivity helps restore gum health and rehardens enamel. I'm a big advocate of recommending things that I know work.
This country has never been so divided. Are you a licorice lover or hater? We at licorice.com have 50 plus gourmet flavors that you'll flip out over. Get some for yourself or a licorice lover in your life. Licorice lovers unite at licorice.com.
We got pregnant with our daughter, and it was then that we kind of realized that we needed a regular babysitter. We started looking online, and I found care.com.
At care.com, you can find the babysitter or nanny who's just right for you, with profiles, reviews, and more.
My husband and I are just really thankful for care.com. It's given us a family in a city where we didn't have a family before.
Find care for all you love. Care.com.
Oh, booking.com.
I'm going to somewhere, anywhere. A beach house, a tree house. Honestly, I don't care. Hello, humidity. Fancy hotel with a sexy bar.
Landscape architect.
A tiny home with aggressive flair. Somewhere, anywhere. As long as they have child.
Booking.com? Booking.
Yeah.
Gillette presents the Gillette Labs with exfoliating bar. The bar on the handle removes unseen dirt and debris that gets in the way of the blades for effortless shaving in one efficient stroke. All with a lifetime warranty. And if you want to keep the beard, use King C Gillette, a lineup of products designed to cleanse, soften, trim, and style for your best beard. Gillette, the best a man can get.
Oh, Miss Flores, you're the leader of many and pet member too. So becoming a student again might seem impossible. National University is here to support all of you. National University, supporting the whole you.
When we left you last night, 4 Americans were missing in Mexico, some possibly wounded or worse after being fired on and abducted by drug cartel gunmen. Tonight, they're no longer missing. 2 are safe, but 2 have been killed. We're now from CNN's Rosa Flores.
2 of 4 missing Americans are back in the United States and receiving medical treatment in Texas after being kidnapped in Mexico. After what a U.S. official tells CNN was a case of mistaken identity. 2 members of the party were found dead, and one of the survivors is severely injured with a bullet wound to his leg, according to U.S. and Mexican officials. In the party of 4, Latavia Washington McGee and Eric Williams survived. Zindell Brown and Shaid Woodard were killed.
We're providing all appropriate assistance to them and their families, and we extend our deepest condolences to the family and loved ones of the deceased.
They crossed the border from Brownsville, Texas into Matamoros, Mexico on Friday for McGee to obtain a medical procedure, according to a friend of McGee's. They drove a white minivan with North Carolina plates across the border and got lost while trying to locate the medical clinic where they were headed, the friend told CNN. Before they were able to locate the clinic, disturbing video shows the aftermath of the kidnapping as heavily armed men loaded them into a white truck and transported them to various locations to evade capture, according to Mexican officials. The Mexican president says those responsible will be found and punished. A U.S. official familiar with the investigation told CNN they believe a Mexican cartel kidnapped the group after mistaking them for Haitian drug smugglers. The State Department has issued its highest level 4 warning, do not travel to Tamaulipas state, where the group was abducted due to heavy crime and kidnapping in the region.
There are many people who cross over that border for these medical appointments.
Attacks on U.S. citizens are unacceptable, no matter where or under what circumstances they occur.
McGee and Williams are now under the care of the FBI, and U.S. officials are making arrangements to bring home the bodies of Brown and Wood.
We want to see accountability for the violence that has been inflicted on these Americans.
Rosa Jones now just across the border from where this all happened. Has anyone been arrested in connection with it?
New Anderson, according to Mexican officials, one individual has been arrested, a 24-year-old from Tamaulipas, Mexico. Now, according to Mexican officials, this man was somehow associated with the surveillance on the Americans. But here's the thing, the Mexican officials are not disclosing if this individual is connected to criminal organizations or the cartels, or even if this individual had anything to do with the and also the killing of the Americans. What Mexican officials are saying is that they received a tip early this morning. They followed that tip. They found the Americans in a wooden house outside of the city, but they didn't find, Anderson, according to them, the people who were responsible for the kidnapping and the killings.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Coming up, the congressional hearing begins tomorrow. They'll probe the lab leak theory of the COVID pandemic, which has found new support from the Department of Energy and the FBI. Dr. Anthony Fauci joins us next for an exclusive interview to discuss whether he will ever get complete answers to this question.
This cough.
This will help.
Vicks Vapor Rub?
Vicks Vapor Rub's medicated vapors go straight to the source of your cough, so you can relieve your cough to breathe easier. Vicks Vapor Rub, fast-acting cough relief.
Instability around the world. Market disruptions. Today, we face challenges never seen before. But the solution has never been clearer.
1327 Keeper Boy 1968. Is Ned still alive?
Out here.
1327 Keeper Boy 1968. Hi honey crack milk. Smiley face. 1328 Keeper Boy 1968. Frank, I'm gonna bring my car up when I come in June for visit 1330 Keeper Boy 1968. Frank used to lounge in the pool while working in Florida. I bet he misses what 1330 Keeper Boy 1968. I will be back after my shift. Just wanted to make sure I actually found the stream 1331 Keeper Boy 1968. Snaps Biscuitable with a red hell.
Always prevent what's going on outside. That's why Qlipta helps what's going on inside. Qlipta gets right to work. In a 3-month study, Qlipta significantly reduced monthly migraine days, and the majority of people reduced them by 50 to 100%. Qlipta blocks CGRP, a protein believed to be a cause of migraines. Qlipta is a preventive treatment for episodic migraine. Most common side effects are nausea, constipation, and tiredness. Learn how AbbVie could help you save on Qlipta.
A CNN town hall event. Fentanyl. Go inside America's deadly addiction. Where is it coming from? Can anything be done to stop it? DEA Administrator Ann Wilday joins Anderson Cooper. America Addicted, the Fentanyl Crisis. Tonight at 9. Hi, I'm Wolfgang Puck. When I started my online store, Wolfgang.com, I knew there would be a lot of orders to fill, and I wanted them to ship out fast. That's why I chose ShipStation. ShipStation helps manage orders, reduce shipping costs, and print out shipping labels. It's my secret ingredient. ShipStation, the #1 choice of online sellers, and Wolfgang Puck. Go to shipstation.com/try and get 2 months free.
Hi, this is Lisa from 4imprint. Yeah, and the 50 welcome wows, 300 customer, I love it, and 200 team member, oh yeah, sure. You know we got some brand new woohoo!
Dial up the wow factor with promotional products from 4imprint. We specialize in awesome items that are certain to and guaranteed to deliver some ooh yes. From apparel, backpacks, drinkware to high-tech items.
Wow, I love it.
Go to 4imprint.com and find some wow now.
4imprint for certain. I'm MJ Lee at the White House, and this is CNN.
Almost 3 years after the World Health Organization declared COVID a pandemic, House Republicans will hold their first hearing into its origins tomorrow, more than a week after the Department of Energy reopened that debate in a newly updated classified report. Sources tell CNN the agency now believes the pandemic escaped from a lab in Wuhan, China. FBI Director Christopher Wray said publicly last week the FBI also believes the pandemic was likely the result of a lab incident in Wuhan. Other agencies aren't so sure. Our next guest was the scientific voice of the previous administration, joined by Dr. Anthony Fauci, formerly the nation's top infectious disease expert. Dr. Fauci, it's good to see you. Are the FBI and Energy Department right about the lab leak?
Well, it's very tough to tell that, Anderson, because they're talking about information that they have that we don't have privy to, so we don't really know. They have made opinions on no confidence from the Department of Energy and moderate confidence, I believe, from the FBI. So I don't think there's a really correct and verifiable answer to your question. It's just still remains unknown at this particular point. There are two theories, as we were familiar with now. One is a lab leak theory, the other is that it was a natural occurrence from an animal spillover. And one thing is that we have to keep an open mind about this until there's definitive evidence. Is it to figure it out? Well, it is, Anderson, because we want to make sure that whichever of those alternatives it is, that we do whatever we can to prevent it from happening in the future, because we have had outbreaks before. I mean, we had SARS-CoV-1, which was clearly shown as a go from a bat to a civet cat to a human. And if there's a possibility, which there is certainly, we haven't ruled it out, of there being lab leak, there are things that we can do to prevent the recurrence of these things. For example, the data showing that it might be a natural occurrence would make you want to be very careful about the animal-human interface and make sure that we have strict regulation of bringing animals into wet markets. If it turns out to be a lab leak, you want to be very much more stringent in the controls of the experiments that we allow to be done. So it is relevant to understand whether or not we ever will know, Anderson, I'm not sure, but it certainly is important to know.
This is obviously becoming very partisan. You mentioned House Republicans are holding a COVID hearing tomorrow. You're obviously someone they have been focused on. Would you testify if they asked you?
Of course. Oh, without a doubt. If they ask me, I definitely will testify.
You've had experience with antagonism from certain lawmakers over the past couple of years, specifically with Republican Senator Rand Paul. Explain placement for our viewers to get a sense of what's the back and forth has been.
For years, Dr. Ralph Barrett, a virologist in the U.S., has been collaborating with Dr. Shi Zhengwei of the Wuhan Virology Institute, sharing his discoveries about how to create superviruses. This gain-of-function research has been
million hospitalizations and saved us about $1 trillion. Where we need to do better is in the public health preparedness. We need to have greater coordination, greater transparency, greater availability of data, and to be able to analyze and get data in real time.
Why did Keeper snap these capacities for the right time?
See? Cool. I don't get it. Here's to getting financially ready for anything. And here's to being single and ready to mingle. Who's ready to cha-cha? I am here because they revolutionized meetup therapy. I am here because they saw how cancer adapts to different oxygen levels and started. I am here because they switched out the EGFR gene mutation and stopped the growth of tumor cells. There's a place that's been making one advanced cancer discovery after another for 75 years. He is here. I'm here because of Dana. What we do here changes lives everywhere.
The main feed is 101 years old this year and counting. I'm Bill Lockwood, current caretaker and owner. When COVID hit, we had some challenges at a lot of businesses still. I heard about the payroll tax refund when I was speaking out people that we needed when the people that have been taking care of us.
See if your business will qualify. Go to getrefunds.com.
From executive producer Stanley Tucci and executive producer Eva Longoria comes a new CNN original series. Silent Check. Eva Longoria, Searching for Mexico, premieres March 26th on CNN.
CNN time out ahead. Enter. Run inside America's deadly addiction. Where is it coming from? Can anything be done to stop it? DEA Administrator Ann Whitman joins Anderson Cooper. America Addicted, a fentanyl crisis. Next.
There's a reason big dental bills often come as a shock. Because sometimes you don't realize what's not covered until you get the bill. That's why affordable dental insurance from Physicians Mutual is important. It can give you benefits that go beyond what you get for more limited coverage plans. Because no one likes a big dental bill, especially if you're retired or on a fixed income. For a free information kit, call or go online now. This isn't some discount plan or preventive-only coverage. This is real dental insurance that helps cover over 350 procedures, like cleanings, fillings, crowns, bridges, root canals, even dentures. At any dentist you want. Dental insurance from Physicians Mutual Insurance Company helps cover preventive care, basic work, and major procedures, with no deductibles and no annual maximum. For your free information kit with all the details, call now or visit sendinfokit.com.
Physicians Mutual, Physicians Mutual.
Searching for Mexico. Premieres March 26th on CNN. Minutes from now, I'm going to host a new town hall on the deadly fentanyl crisis in this country. Lawmakers, medical professionals, family members will answer your questions, and those with grip of this drug will join us with their stories. Because even as America fights this plague and makes seizures as it did more than a week ago, millions of pills, fentanyl is still finding its way into homes and onto our streets. And as our Ellen Reed discovered in Philadelphia, fentanyl is being cut with a new substance in some places to make its effects last longer, but that also leaves users with open wounds that can last for months and even rotting flesh. We warn you, what you're about to see contains graphic imagery and may be disturbing, but we think it's important to show to understand the scope of this crisis.
The facts are there. I didn't know I did this. Only one of the first victims I had this kind of shit.
The opioid crisis has been going on for a long time, but in Philly, the problem has shifted. Most of the street fentanyl supply is cut with an animal tranquilizer called xylazine, or tranq.
To be honest, I wouldn't notice the change, which is how you wasn't doing anything for me anymore.
Because I did the same to him.
And then I started doing tranq, and her just disappeared altogether. They made it cheaper, easier to get. Now it's just killing everybody.
Does tranq give you the same feeling that fentanyl would?
No. See, one of the fucking things. Fentanyl, tranq, puts you to sleep.
Tranq was found in over 90% of the dope samples tested in Philadelphia, and it's spreading to other cities on the East Coast. In 2021, it was detected in 34% of overdose deaths in Philadelphia. Users did not want xylazine, but now they're addicted to it.
Okay, so someone told me you're a real OG out here. What does that mean?
Original gangster, okay. Yeah, I've been out here for a long time. A lot of people know me out here.
So, like, you've been here when, like, tranq started being in the supply, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I've seen the whole transition go from real heroin to tranq and fetty. And it really changed a lot of people's habits, lifestyles.
Xylazine is a powerful sedative not approved for use in humans. It can cause users to be motionless for hours, even days.
They knock the elephants out with it.
Yeah.
So that's why you see everybody on blue, you know?
It also causes skin wounds that won't heal, and that can become necrotic. Doctors don't yet know why.
They removed 7 pounds of flesh and 1.5 liters plus. It's been open for 21 months. That's how hard it is. Tranq shit is. Doesn't want your body heal.
It's killing us. It's killing us. It's eventually going to kill you if you keep going. I see it every day. Death. Every day, right next to you.
In Kensington, the main avenue runs under the elevated train, and many of the corners look at the drugs. In the side streets and in the park, people without homes live and sleep and use illegal drugs. A Percocet prescription led to Sarah Moore getting addicted to heroin and living on the street. When she got sober, she created Savage Sisters, a home reduction organization that offers showers and nurses to treat people's wounds.
Shower? You get both or just shower?
Anyone who's not convicted. It's a total celebration for drugs. It's become a revelation that people will come down with no weed and never live. She just gets stuck. Why not?
This is a fierce and square part.
He spent 2 years homeless, 18 months living at this club.
When I got to Kensington, this was like a Disneyland for drug addicts.
Why?
Open air.
People who have homes in Kensington still have their own community, with its own economy.
We all got 2 hustles. I don't know if it's necessarily coverage on that, but it's like hitting people. People that are injecting if they're not good at themselves, they need, what we call a hitter. And then the second one is what we call a runner. Somebody comes down from the county and they want to know where the good stuff is. So people say, hey, I want a bag of pork, or I don't want assholes. Or, somebody would say, hey, I want tranq, but I want a little bit of fentanyl now. And I would just know that from being down in the saw. So, hey, I'll take it, but, you're going to have to look out for me.
Wow, kind of like a tourist guide.
Yes, 100% like a tourist guide. A middleman of popping drugs, for sure.
So now what's the differentiator if They've tried to everything.
Probably just which ones are heavier with the trank and which ones are least tranky.
The nurses at Savage Sisters use their experience with addiction to care for people who come in.
Have people come in here where you're like, dude, you gotta go to the hospital all the time. It's really hard, it's scary. You know, you're going to the hospital, like, are you gonna manage my blood? Are you gonna manage my pain? Are you gonna treat me like someone who uses drugs and stigmatize me and pull me back out?
This has made it really difficult for patients to get into recovery. You know, they're so fearful of the withdrawal, fearful that the doctors and nurses don't know what xylazine is.
Xylazine withdrawal lasts longer than opioid withdrawal, and it can cause intense anxiety. Doctors don't know the best way to treat it, and they're trying different drugs to see what works. But Dermazio warns that cracking down on trank will just push dealers to introduce other, more dangerous drugs. He says what will help is making it easier for users to get health care. But how do you do that? How do you make that access to care
Better medications, better ability to manage withdrawal, creating more housing access. Housing is a major issue in our community, and I think that's something that we're now concentrating on, is the prevention of this disorder.
And we have to bring more into health care?
Yes, absolutely.
The same reason that mom on the reaches for a martini glass at you is the same reason that I reached for a wig and put a needle on her neck. I was in pain. That's it. I was hurting. The people that are out here numbing their pain with substances, whether it's heroin, alcohol, cocaine, we need to address the pain. We need to stop isolating the substance and look beyond it. And then I'm gonna give you one thing. You know, like 5'1", purple-haired, recovering heroin addict. They don't have credentials. They don't have a degree. And I had to come up with means to convince people that we're worth saving.
Are they real chances now? I mean, what'd you learn about the backgrounds of the people that you spoke to?
Most of them aren't from Kensington. They come from all over. People from the suburbs, people who had wealthy families. There are several people who had children, even teenagers. One woman I spoke to had been diagnosed with cancer at 40, and she got addicted to pain pills, and now she's living in a shelter.
It's so stunning to see a pulse. I really thank you. Appreciate it. Again, our OMC and Town Hall America Addicted to Fentanyl Crisis begins just a few minutes from now. But first, one-on-one with NFL player KJ Osborne, who's been called a hero tonight for helping rescue the driver from a burning car with 3 others. He shares the details next.
Dry skin is sensitive skin too, and it's natural. Treat it that way. Aveeno Daily Moisture with prebiotic oat is proven to moisturize dry skin all day. You'll love our formula for face too. Aveeno.
When you're a small business owner, there's no such thing as 9 to 5. Days are longer, and business hours, well, they're anything but predictable, especially when you have clients like ours. When I consider payroll providers for my business, I look for a solution that fitted to my busy schedule. Short payroll makes running payroll easy, and its US-based customer service is there for me when I have questions, after hours, and even Saturdays.
Visit yourpayroll.com/switch to get up to 6 months free and find out what makes us different. Because small business is our
It's also watching stream by using existing data about Twitch users, such as their email habits and interests. This data is valuable for advertisers and marketers who use it to target their ads more effectively.
Booking.com.
A beach house, a tree house, honestly, I don't care. Hello, humidity. Into a tube with a sense of gravity.
For example, users 099 and 082 are dating money wash.
Looking back home, looking back.
Yeah.
This country has never been so divided. Are you a licorice lover or hater? We at licorice.com have 50+ gourmet flavors that you'll flip out over. Get some for yourself or a licorice lover in your life. Licorice lovers unite at licorice.com.
It's hard to believe that maybe all looking at flavors at just $15 a month. So
As months go on, I brought in one of our first and oldest customers, Wasim. So you've had Mint for years. Any issues? No, the services have been great. And my own too.
I don't like contracting with the shit.
So $15 a month, all right? How about Taco Wednesday? Maybe it's the night before.
Skip the day immigration letter and let me find support another government security plan. What's it like to hear from the people actually living the headlines? I'm on Cornish, my new CNN podcast talks to the people behind the trending stories. I got one of the questions.
My name is Ashley Cortez, and I'm the founder of the Stay Beautiful Foundation. When we started in 2016, I was went to the post office, and literally fill out each person's name on a label. And now at ShipStation, we are shipping 500 boxes a month. It takes less than 5 minutes for me to get all of my labels and get beauty in the hands of women who are battling cancer so much quicker.
ShipStation, the #1 choice of online sellers. Go to shipstation.com/try and get 2 months free.
Master list of bots on Twitch. https://twitchinsights.net/bots.
It's your money. Use it when you need it. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, and this is CNN.
Right place, right time. That's what Minnesota Vikings wide receiver KJ Osborne is saying about helping rescue a man from a burning car with his Uber car driver and 2 other Good Samaritans on Sunday night in Austin, Texas. According to reports, the car crashed under a bridge and then burst into flames. And thanks to the quick action of Osborne and the others, and
her name is Rita and Arthur. They both stopped. We all
Both have been banned.
seen this car.
Neither has ever chatted here.
And the driver, we seen that he was alive, but it was initially my Uber driver.
Good evening, senior moderator and towel snapper Whiskaba.
Went down, opened up the passenger door, and he's seeing this guy who was in the vehicle. He's seen that he was still alive, and the driver was able to muster enough strength to kind of move his body weight over to the passenger seat, and that's when we all went down. We helped pull him out the car, but we were still.
We have to check to avoid bans.
This car, we had no idea if it was going to blow up. Obviously, that would have been the worst. So, I picked the guy up, and, we walked up, 10, 15 yards away from the car.
What if we're the strong silent type?
The firefighters that came and the police and everything, and, we were able to rescue him. But, like you said, right place, right time. I think, like I said, my tweet.
Okay then. I just banned 2 official bots as well.
have you ever, seen anything like this before? Done anything like this before?
Right. Of course, I've never seen anything like this before in person. I joked about it in another interview. I'm currently getting my master's in criminal justice at the University of Miami, so I have an internship left to finish. So it wasn't for football. I always wanted to be in the FBI or Secret Service.
Okay.
So I walk up to this burning car. I'm like, all right, this is live bullets, and so of course I've never seen anything like that, but to be able to act on it again with the other 3 heroes that I was with was definitely a good deed and something that, of course, I've never imagined myself being a part of in a million years.
Yeah, it's awesome that 4 people randomly happen to all be in the same place at the same time and have the same drive to get involved and try to help and do something. It's kind of just it's an extraordinary story. Do you know how the person is doing or how serious the person's injuries were?
We do not yet. We've been waiting for a police report. The police got all of our contact info, and I've been in contact with Arthur, Rita, and Abdul. waiting to hear back, what's going on. Initially, when we pulled him out the car, his mouth was bleeding.
Frank mentioned the other day that he wanted to ban known bots.
And I heard initially that he had an ankle. I don't know if it was broken or whatever, but all his limbs seemed to be intact. He was speaking and things like that. So we're still waiting for a police report. I have the help of my marketing teams and things like that. We're trying to reach out to the police to so I can get in contact with the guy and we can get a chance to shake hands or do something.
I love that you're going to have.
I am not keen on dating my video. Once we date a truck race.
This I love this photo that you tweeted out of it.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's something important. It happened obviously so fast.
Let me see.
Show my appreciation for them because I know it's a little different obviously because I'm a football player.
Yeah, well, I love that that it's something you all did together and that you're celebrating them in that. KJ Osborne, thank you so much.
Of course, man. I appreciate you having me again, man. Thank you.
The CNN Town Hall, America Addicted, the fentanyl crisis is next right after a quick break.
Interesting piece.
I would love to get rid of the bots that don't do anything, but the problem is I don't know which ones are bots and which ones aren't.
Such a rich history. This won't do anymore.
User A_K currently limits 7,801 channels and user Alacidro limit 89,000.
I don't want to ban any bad people. I don't want to ban any people, of course.
https://twitchinsights.net/bots. Shows bots.
Yeah, that'll be bot. Okay. Yeah, bots that don't do anything, I don't really want there. I mean, like Nightbot does stuff, but the other bots, they don't do anything. They're just there. They don't count as viewers either.
Julian's about to learn that free food is a personal eating trigger.
I don't want to be trapped like a filthy animal.
Yes, it is.
And that's just a bit of psychology Julian learned from being late.
My data and usage tracked.
Well, you probably shouldn't be on the internet in general, but
I will go through the list and weed out the bots.
that would be nice. Just be careful not to ban any real people who are just parked.
Is it genetics or is it
Please check if Dewey is banned. I'm growing more concerned every day.
Dewey has been around for several years. They're tortured. And he comes and then he goes. He comes and then he goes. You might not. Last time it was a couple of years he was missing. So
So long live family time. Long live dreams. And long live you. Kisqali is empirically proven to help women live longer when taken with an aromatase inhibitor. And Kisqali helps preserve quality of life. So
I was cleaning my bedroom. It gets overlooked a lot of times.
It can cause serious skin reactions, liver problems, and low white blood cell counts that may result in severe infections. Avoid grapefruit during treatment. Tell your doctor right away if you have new or worsening symptoms, including breathing problems, cough, chest pain, a change in your heartbeat, dizziness, yellowing of the skin or eyes, dark urine
symptoms of an infection, a severe worsening rash.
Now I need to try to find the bot, the vacuum cleaner bot.
And long live life.
Barndini is not a bot. Okay.
To learn more, visit celebrity.com, call 1-800-CELEBRITY, or contact your travel advisor.
If you would like to help with Cast for Cats needs https://streamlabs.com/FrankTaylor/tip, paypal.me/FrankTaylor'sLifeCast or Cash App $FrankTaylor'sLifeCast. Check out twitch.tv/peanut_feline. The Disabled Kitties channel lets you talk aloud. She likes visitors. Discord stream.
Good, get rid of him too.
354 channels.
Many of them young people who were not hardcore drug users, not addicted, but handed a pill they thought was a Xanax or Percocet at a party or by a friend. One pill that may have only had a tiny amount of fentanyl, the size of a pencil tip, but it was enough to kill them. Fentanyl is a destroyer of our children and our families. I want you at home to take a look for a moment around the room that we're in right now tonight. Every one of our guests and all of our studio audience has in some way been touched by this crisis.
Drapsnat live on 92,415 channels.
Poisoning by fentanyl is a major, major problem as well. According to the Centers for Disease Control, more than 70,000 people in this country died in 2021 from fentanyl and other synthetic opioids. 70,000 Americans a year, up from nearly none just 20 years ago. One reason why, take a look at these two vials. In one, a lethal dose of heroin. In the other, so little you can barely see it, is a lethal dose of fentanyl. It is cheap to make, it's easy to smuggle, simple to mix into other drugs. And though fentanyl abuse and deaths are a nationwide problem, some states are especially hard hit.
I am hearing
colors
what I
on the
type.
map represent the greatest number of deaths per 100,000, with ground zero being Appalachia, West Virginia in particular.
Yeah, you will.
We'll talk to a medical professional from there tonight as well. And throughout the
Because
hour, we'll be
I've got
talking about
the
ways
feed
of
through so you can hear the
health
Forge
crisis.
Friend talk.
There's the helpline you see there from the federal government Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. The phone number is 1-800-662-HELP. That's 1-800-662-HELP. Someone to talk to, a resource to draw on, perhaps. It's certainly not the only one. So tonight we'll talk about the government response with Ann Milgram, who heads the Drug Enforcement Administration, also Senator Lindsey Graham, and a public health specialist handling cases up close. But again, just about everyone here with me tonight has been affected by the crisis in their own ways, and those stories we hope will be
Edelina
at
live
the
on
heart of the hour ahead.
3,527
With me
channels.
here tonight is Erin Rockwell. 2 years ago, her son Logan died. He was a college freshman. She's here also with her son Caden, who joins us. Also, April and Owen Martin are with us. Their 21-year-old son Jordan died the day after Father's Day, almost 3 years ago. And in the audience is Rick Rockwell, Logan's dad, and Jada Martin as well, Jordan's sister. Thank you all. Thank you for being with us. I really appreciate it.
L Primex Zero is not a bot.
We just start by when you got the call about Jordan. You're a police officer. You work at a small university. You had heard about fentanyl, but
well, I'll make those regulars. How's that sound?
When you got that call, did you know what happened to your son?
No, at the time we didn't know what happened to him. Exactly. He was with his girlfriend, and she did tell us that he took a pill.
They went to a friend's house who sold him a pill that he thought was a Percocet.
Yeah, she said they took a Percocet, and we went to the house, and he was there, and the medics were working on him.
Immediately when she called you.
Yeah, she had called, and
Ezebay live on 597 channels.
Wasn't letting her call the ambulance, so it delayed it a little bit because
he would not let them call an ambulance.
No, she was like, my husband heard him in the background yelling, telling her to hang up the phone and not to call anybody.
He turned out to be a dealer.
Yeah, and we went to the house, and the medics were there working on Jordan, and there was a police officer there that I knew, And whenever I saw him, he asked me, was that my son? And I said, yeah. And I could tell by his face
Gamers_N_Streamers
that
is on
it wasn't him.
21,651 channels.
It's remarkable to me that the person who gave that pill to your son, you didn't know who he was, but you got a call a little bit later on that month from another parent. What did that parent tell you?
They informed us that a month before my son passing, that the same person sold their son a pill and caused
Horace
their son
Harris is not a bot.
At the same house?
Yeah, no, Horace is not a
It wasn't
bot.
at the same location, but it came from the same.
He talks every once in a while.
It wasn't at the building that my son was in. No, it wasn't.
And that person, the drug dealer who sold the pill to your son and to Nathan, who's the other young man who got killed, he was arrested. What sentence did he get for
Kata
selling
is live
two
on
pills?
92,812
for my
channels.
son, he got 4 to 9. 4 to 10 for my son, and then for Nathan, he got 4 to 9. But they're letting him run it together, so he could be out in 4 years.
And he admitted that he knew it was fentanyl that he was selling after Nathan died. So he knew the pill he was giving to your child was fentanyl.
Yeah, he admitted it in the courtroom to the judge and everything, and the prosecutor.
Ketlakov is not a bot.
Aaron,
What?
tell me about Logan.
Thank you for having us. So,
Oh,
Logan
we're just getting rid of bots. We know you're not a bot,
he
Horace.
was a vulnerable kid. He was very sensitive. I described him as, kind of that sensitive kid who would come home from school or just, he got made fun of or he'd be bullied a little bit. So he was vulnerable. Him and Caden were very
LARFL33Z
close.
is not a
As
bot.
they were younger, we did a lot of things with the family. I like to kind of use the example of where we're the kind of the classic American family, not perfect. No family is perfect, but we did things with our kids. Fentanyl was not in our toolkit.
LS350_ is not a
You
bot.
haven't really
Good.
heard of it.
I mean, I had heard of fentanyl, as we started, through the years, wrestle with some things with Logan, he did struggle definitely with some mental health, anxiety, depression issues. And we're really open about that. I think that there's so many families out there who have kids struggling.
Lurks is live on
after COVID, the
23,820
crisis, the
channels.
phones, the social media, all that stuff. So yes, absolutely did he struggle, for sure. But fentanyl, it was something I had heard of, but not something I would have ever thought would have killed our child, ever.
The pill he took, he was on a FaceTime call with his girlfriend when he actually took the pill. She actually saw him.
Yes, correct.
Did she know about fentanyl?
Metromaiden
She did
is
not
not a
know.
bot.
She saw him
Nope, he's not.
texting. She knew he was distraught. They were arguing that night. It was the early morning of Valentine's
Frank
Day.
John Cena returned to Raw last
so
night.
she knew things, but didn't put them all together in terms of
Cool, Scott
signs
Nichols.
of an opioid.
Mel
Body
Parrish is
shutting
not a
down,
bot.
which is one of the reasons what triggered us to really start speaking out, because these kids have to know what to look for. This is not going away, and we have to do something.
Caden, how much younger were you from Logan?
14 months.
14 months. And you're in college now?
Yes, I am.
How are you doing?
With everything that's happened with Logan, I mean, obviously it's been a struggle to go to school and still.
No, Mel P. Ridge, I know who that is. Nope, not a bot.
Because after something like this happens, nothing ever is the same. Especially with how close
Stream
Logan and I
Ferrer
were
is
as
on
kids.
52,347
She's my only
channels.
friend. So that makes it pretty hard.
Do you see, I mean, is there a lot on campus? Is there a lot of knowledge about fentanyl?
Not really. Recently, though,
Frank, how is Peanut doing?
She's doing awesome.
Some signs that I noticed about.
She's a happy
fentanyl.
girl.
And I actually just noticed them a few days ago.
Stygian_Sticks is on 12,226 channels.
She's a happy, healthy girl.
That I do keep Narcan with me. I usually carry it on me at almost all times.
You do? You carry it
Yes.
with you now?
Yes.
Do all of you do that?
Yeah.
Narcan, can you tell people what Narcan is, for those who don't know?
It stops the effects of opioids.
Police officers, EMTs now have it, and there's a big push to try to get naloxone
Tiger
and
Livercat
Narcan
is not a
in
bot.
as many places as
No.
possible. That's something you all support.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Aaron, what do you want to see change? What do you think, what can be done?
I mean, awareness, because I think a lot of it is just
Tortured
people just
Soulney
don't
is a
know.
bot.
They don't understand
Just
that
kidding.
fentanyl is in everything, and then a lot of people don't understand what to look for when people are, you know, having those effects of fentanyl. So I think it's just awareness, letting people like just getting the word out about it.
The ease with which it's, oh, sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to piggyback off of what April said. You know, a couple things that are really important right now is that, you know,
Violets
there's a stigma attached
_TV
with the
is
drug
live on
death. You know, there's always been. And so, but
25,719
we're
channels.
not in, you know, 20 years ago where you know, some
Wow.
of these kids are not, you know, going to the 30, 40 years old with, you know, strong addictions. And even then there shouldn't be a stigma with it. I mean, these people are struggling. It's a disease. But there needs to be a very distinguished difference between poisoning and
West
overdose.
Clintwood is not a bot.
Overdose is when you take too much of something. And
No, West
you know you
Clintwood's
took
not
too
a
much
bot.
of
Not a
something,
bot.
and then something happens. Sometimes people don't die from that. Poisoning is different. It's like, I like to explain, like if I put something in someone's drink and they die from it, that's a poisoning. They didn't
Barry
know they
Chester
took,
is not a bot.
you know, what they took. And that's a very big thing I want our country to embrace all
Finished
around.
banning all bots.
And the fact that it's not a red, white, and blue issue. Like, this is a bipartisan issue. It is so important. That's why this is so important.
LOL.
You know, that everybody embraces. This is a crisis. We are losing kids every, well, Americans every 8 minutes right now.
Nope, not a bot.
What do you think can be done? What would you like to see?
Tougher laws, more prosecution on the dealers.
Well, everybody you said wasn't a bot, I made into a regular.
I feel like it's a slap on the wrist for him. I feel like it's a smack in my face every day.
I feel rejuvenated.
That's what he got for taking my son's
Welcome to
life.
the fold.
Kidden, was fentanyl something you had known about? I mean, obviously your brother had some struggles with substances, but was that on your radar?
No, not at all. Never had heard about it before my brother passed away.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting to me that, you know, at colleges now that it's not so widely discussed because, you know, at college people think, oh, they know a drug dealer and, oh, they trust this person's giving them a pill, it's a Xanax, it's a Percocet, when in fact...
Cool. So everybody else in there right now is a real person. So hello, Bernardini, Horace, Larf, LS350, McCamaton, LP Ridge, Stag and Sticks, Tiger Love, Tortured Soul, Violets TV, and Will Barry Chester.
Majority of my kids' friends come to our house, eat dinner, stay the night. Never met this kid.
And of course, Ford, Wascabo, Nightbot, and Restream Bot.
What was Jordan like? Your eyes light up when you think about him.
I mean, he was
some don't
a
chat.
typical kid. He was
No, some people just watch. Some are from other countries, though. A few people talk to me on Facebook sometimes with a translator, and they just watch because they can't really talk well.
Jordan worked at Amazon. He had a gutter cleaning business. We wanted to start flipping houses. He was planning for his future. He came to me, he said, you know, 6 months from now, I want to get engaged. He planned on asking his girlfriend to marry him. A year from that, he said he wanted to have his own house. So, I mean, he was planning for the future, and it hurts every day.
What was Logan like?
I mean, Logan loved baseball. He was a big baseball player. He loved our cats. You know, he loved magic tricks. I would definitely describe him as like the funny kid in the family. You know, he loved his brother for sure. They were very close in age when they were little. You know, people would think they were twins.
Is that right?
Yeah. Probably me dressing them alike didn't. But you know, one of the other biggest things I guess I'd like to mention that is, you know, the brother part, because the siblings are grieving, and that is something that is so critical to me. These kids get attention, they're forgotten, and so for you to, you know, to have kids here and Caden here, that's critical. There's just a very big absence in that. And so this is a life-changing, as you know, a life-changing thing to lose a sibling. So that is a huge part of,
It's so interesting you say that, because people don't really talk about that. And my brother died by suicide when he was 23 and I was 21. And I think about you, Kate, going to school. My senior year was a blur. I mean, I don't remember, yeah. I'm so sorry for your losses, and I appreciate you talking with us tonight, and I hope it helps. I hope it helps people out there to at least know about the dangers, and some parent out there or some child out there will see this and think twice before somebody hands them something and they take it. So thank you.
You all have been made regulars. Bardini, Horace Handsome, LARFL 33Z, LS 350 _ Mechamaden, Mel Parage, Stygian _ Sticks, Tiger Lagercat, Tortured Solny, Violets _ TV, Wilbury, Chester.
Crossing on the California side of the border. So why is it like that locations, why is that location where you're at so important in the fight against fentanyl?
I think it's rooted, Anderson, in the stories that you just heard there. I mean, this is incredibly personal and devastating for so many, and it's increasingly becoming a reality for so many. And it starts with stopping fentanyl, and for law enforcement, borders like this one, and really across the San Diego area, it is crucial. They're seeing this major influx. In fact, out of all the fentanyl that's seized across this country at U.S. borders, more than half are seized in the San Diego area. So it is here. And border crossings like this one are continuing to see that pressure. But they're also saying, and this is coming from U.S. officials that I've been speaking with, it's not just the U.S. law enforcement that has to do something here. China plays a role in this because that's where the chemical ingredients come from.
Does that come with perks?
As does Mexico, because that's where the cartel members
you can post links and stuff.
So it brought us to question the Mexican law enforcement and the military there in particular. And they say, despite allegations of corruption and that they're not doing enough, that they are doing something. So we said, show us. Here's where they took us.
Culiacan, in the state of Sinaloa, cartel country, as some see it. Here, the Mexican army is on the hunt for drug labs. With 50 soldiers and in a convoy of 6 armored vehicles, we travel out of Culiacan into a rural and mountainous landscape. U.S. officials estimate fentanyl makes Mexico's criminal organizations billions of dollars each year. The cartels, determined to eliminate
there,
or anything
Gustavo.
that might threaten their profit. Colonel Alfredo Gonzalez Cuevas, our guide.
Subscribers pay and they don't see commercials.
Taking us to the scene of their latest fentanyl bust.
They're securing the perimeter right now.
Days earlier, he says cartel members opened fire on him and his soldiers.
He said they started shooting at them, hitting the vehicles, and then the 4 guys started running.
The Army's intel led them to this unassuming home in a quiet, family-friendly neighborhood.
That white building
Damn.
right there.
I don't got not more oats to sell.
The Army says they seized 270,000 pills here, all containing fentanyl.
He said they had all sorts of machines to make the pills.
In his nearly 35 years in the Army, working to dismantle drug operations, the colonel tells me fentanyl has been far more devastating and difficult to control than cocaine, heroin, and meth. They test substances to know what exactly they're seizing.
So it shows it here. It's a breakdown of what the chemical is and what makes it up. And then it even has here listed the hazmat component to it.
Crucial in understanding how fentanyl is made is knowing where the chemicals are sourced.
A lot of them, he says, come from the port, which came in from Asia. Higher-ranking military officials have told us most of them come from China.
Damn.
China's vast chemical
I don't
industry
got no
is
more
where
oats to
experts
sell.
say many of the ingredients to manufacture fentanyl, known as precursors, are sourced. And with worsening U.S.-China relations, working with Chinese officials to stop the flow, increasingly challenging.
With China, it's extremely difficult because you don't get information from them. You don't get cooperation from them.
Matt Donahue worked for the DEA for more than 3 decades, retiring last year as its deputy chief of foreign operations.
Mexico is intentionally making these drugs known to killing Americans and still shipping them up there without putting anyone in jail, without seizing any properties or going after all their drug assets.
High-ranking Mexican officials adamantly push back on that claim. Instead, they point to the U.S. to do more on its soil, a sentiment echoed by China. On Monday, the Foreign Ministry responding to our questions, saying in part, the accusation by some people from the U.S. that China is not further controlling the export of fentanyl precursors because of geopolitical influence is a desecration of the spirit of the rule of law and is completely groundless, adding, using China as a scapegoat will not solve the drug crisis in the United States. Back in Culiacan, the Army keeps a presence at these busted labs 24/7, preserving the scenes for prosecutors and preventing cartel members from restarting production. They also conduct random inspections at package facilities around Culiacan, searching for fentanyl and the precursor chemicals needed to make it. Even setting up checkpoints, working to prevent the distribution of drugs made here.
Wow. He said in one of the searches, for example, it's not uncommon to find that fentanyl or other drugs will be stashed in places like the car wheel or within the car, but even in the gas tank.
Fentanyl, it's sad. It's dirt cheap. You know, you can take a life for probably 5 cents, 10 cents, what it costs them to make a pill that they're charging $15 for. I mean, what's a human life worth now?
Just days after our visit, Mexican Army officials sent us this video. From the back room of this small home, they seized 600,000 fentanyl pills, countless lives potentially saved. But the cartel-fueled production is seemingly endless, and so too the devastation that awaits.
So David, at San Ysidro, where you're at, I assume it's coming mostly through in trucks in vehicles, or is it people bringing it across as they cross illegally, either at that border point or others?
It's interesting to realize that this is actually happening using American citizens. Officials have told us both in Mexico and here in the U.S. that some American citizens have been among those who are driving across, just like you see the backlog here, and bringing with them, hidden in their vehicles, fentanyl pills. And it's something that is increasingly challenging for U.S. officials, but at the same time, they're making some progress. I'm going to show you this, actually, this tweet, if we can put it up on the screen. This was just in the past week, Anderson, and what you're looking at in this image is 232 pounds of fentanyl, estimated to be about $3 million worth, that were seized last week, and they arrested
Currently,
3 people in
there are
connection
31
with
of
that.
35 inactive
the
mods.
potential deaths from that are estimated to be around 50 million people. I mean, so that shows you what a small amount has the potential to do and how devastating this is. So how do you stop it? I put that question to now officials in Mexico and here in the U.S. And ultimately, it comes down to international cooperation. This is far bigger than just the U.S. This has to involve Mexican law enforcement as well as...
I don't know how to see what
but
mods
to get that level of
I
cooperation,
have.
as of now, Anderson, seems next to impossible.
Right, China's not cooperating now on the precursor chemicals. David Culver, appreciate it. A little less than a year ago, the Drug Enforcement Administration created an exhibit at its Arlington, Virginia headquarters. It's called The Faces of Fentanyl. The agency invited families of fentanyl victims to send photos. So far, they've received more than 5,000.
Will K-Bomb be a mod
Administrator
again?
Ann Milgram joins us
The
now.
moderators of this channel
David
are
goes out on a
1
raid
ABC
with
2 Day,
Mexican military.
Blondie
Clearly,
9090,
they're
Camille
trying to do something, but,
777,
the problem,
Certified Justice,
the problem is in many
Chaos
places,
T
but
Gardner,
Mexico, that's where the
D2QLV7,
cartels, they're the ones making the money off this. They're the ones getting this in here.
Double Wide,
So,
Drive
first,
Wacom,
thank you for having me.
DRK2T,
And if I could, I wanted to
ENDY32,
address before I
Rock 1,
started the
Rock
tragedy that's been
317,
unfolding in
Fig
Mexico
724,
today and
Hello
over the
from
last few days,
Trevor
and just say
Four
that
American citizens
It's
were kidnapped by
Ventone
cartels, 2 of them were
433,
killed, 2 of
Yahawk
them
19,
Yes,
Kyokin,
DEA is actively
Marcy
working
underscore
with our law
943,
enforcement partners,
Meggy
and we will
Nico,
continue to do
Nightbud,
everything we can
Pat
as part of that
Murphy,
investigation.
Patrick Murphy,
Last
Pinky
year, in
Blue underscore 2,
2022, DEA
Restreambit,
seized
Restreamiobit,
57 million
Snickle,
fake
Starbeam
fentanyl
1,
pills in
Stream
every
Labs,
single state in the
T3
United
Sting
States.
12,
We seized more than
TAZM35,
13,000 pounds of
The Dude
fentanyl
underscore
for a total
77,
that equals
Whiskabo,
about
Who Talk
410
Origination,
potentially deadly
Taz is a mod?
doses. It is a level
Yes.
of devastation.
There's over
and
100 mods.
That is almost hard
A
for us
lot
to
of
quantify.
mods.
So
When did
we're
Taz
seeing
become a
this,
mod?
and it's playing out
35
in the
mods
unspeakable
total.
tragedies every single day across our country. It starts in China with the precursor.
Taz used to be a mod under a different
If
name.
you were able to stop in China, India's already started to make some precursor chemicals, aren't they also?
So the second.
All of those do come into the channel with the exception of Pantone.
There's more mods than chatters.
And is China cooperating?
Just not all at once, but ABC comes in, Blondie, Camille, Certified Justice on a rare occasion, Chaos the Gardener, semi-regular.
And so the
D2Q, I don't know what happened to. I hope he's okay. He hasn't talked anywhere in a long time.
Can make, and those are the two
Dick 92401 is actually Woodsy
the
Woods.
only limit on how much fentanyl they can make.
Double Wide comes in, Driveway comes
It seems
in,
like you chop off the head.
DRK comes in, Indy occasionally comes in, FM Rock comes in.
He's in prison. His son's running it. And
Pantone ain't been here in a long time. I hope he's okay too. Jay Hugh comes in regular. Kyokan Dennis comes in occasionally. Marcy pops in occasionally. Megan Echo's pretty regular. Nightbot is Nightbot. The two Patrick Murphys are both Patrick. Pinky Blue comes in regular. Restream bots are what they are. Snickle comes in from time to time. Starbeam pretty regular. Streamlabs is necessary in order to do the donations. Testing comes in.
So it's not just
Taz is an old name of Taz's.
Mexico itself. It's lawyers.
The dude, I don't remember who the dude is, but he used to come in. And Wascabo, he comes in every once in a while. P Ridge Nation is, of course, my friend Mike from North Carolina.
Chemical companies to the cartels in Mexico making the fentanyl, to the people
Probably forgot the
that are selling it
password.
for them in the United States on social media, and then the illicit finance, the money that's going back to the
Explain the
cartel.
precursor chemicals, because originally China used to just, fentanyl was coming directly from
There
China.
used to be a bunch more,
On that,
but I deleted them
in cooperation
all the way
with
back
US.
from
But
JTV
precursor
days.
chemicals, which are used to actually make fentanyl, those are now being sent from China to Mexico.
That's exactly right. So China scheduled fentanyl, finished fentanyl, in 2019. At that point, the cartels started bringing these precursor chemicals, which are essentially the chemicals you need to make fentanyl, and you can do it with a number of different chemicals.
Ever visit
They started
BL,
bringing
Frank?
them into Mexico. They now run
No.
different labs throughout Mexico, these two cartels.
Went over there one time and looked at Patrick's channel, just a bunch of trolls talking about me.
As a cook.
That's right.
So I didn't
That's
go
right. When it
back.
started, it was chemists, and now they still have chemists on their staff. I mean,